absolute gun of these live streaming sessions. Hi, and welcome to Live at the Counts. My name's Chelsea Wilson. I'm your host and series producer, and thrilled to have your company this evening. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands we are making music on tonight, the people of the Kulin Nations. I'd like to pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and acknowledge any First Nations peoples tuning in tonight. Well, Live at the Counts has been broadcasting incredible live music every Wednesday night. But tonight is a real special night for us because we have a live audience here in the room. That's right, we have officially opened our doors. Woo! You can hear them in the room. We've officially opened our doors. So if you'd like to join the party here at the Counts, you can head to Monash University Performing Arts Centres, look for The Counts, and you can book now. Next Wednesday night, we will have back here at the Counts incredible cabaret diva and jazz artist Mama Alto. And the Wednesday following that, soul funk trio Cookin' on Three Burners are bringing the party to Monash. So check it out live at the Counts. But for tonight, we are in for a treat. For most of us over the last 18 months to 2 years, international travel has sadly not been a possibility. But thanks to our incredible ensemble tonight, we're all going on a trip to Paris and beyond. Since 2013, Nuit Blanche has been bringing their own unique Melbourne flavour to Francophone repertoire. And tonight, they have brought an incredible lineup. On guitar, Nathan Slater. On the double bass, Enzo Roberto. On accordion and some piano as well, Salvatore Greco. And vocalist, Raleigh Williams. After the performance, they'll be joining us for a special Q&A. If you've got any questions that you'd like to ask Nuit Blanche, please pop it in the chat. And for our in-house audience, you can just put your hand up and talk loudly. But for now, let's get going with some incredible music. Please join me in a huge welcome for Nuit Blanche.
Sous le ciel de Paris s'envolait une chanson. Ouh, il est né d'aujourd'hui dans la carte d'un garçon. La, la, sous le ciel de Paris marchent des amoureux. Ouh, le bonheur se construit sur une affaire pour eux. Un philosophe assis, des musiciens, quelques badauds, puis les gens familiers. Ouh, sous le ciel de Paris jusqu'au soir vont chanter. Ouh, l'hymne de peuple a pris de sa vieille idée près de Notre-Dame. Tout peut s'arranger. Quelques rayons du ciel d'été, l'accordéon de nos mailles, l'espoir fleurit au ciel de Paris. Ah, sous le ciel de Paris coule un fleuve joyeux. Merci, bienvenue. I love that last line of that song, even if you didn't understand all of it. That was Sous le ciel de Paris. That song was written 98 years ago, actually, now made famous by Juliette Greco, amongst other artists, under Parisian skies, Sous le ciel de Paris. But the last line, which is my favourite, is, but Parisian skies aren't always cruel, sort of like Melbourne. At the end of the day, she offers a beautiful rainbow. And I always love that. And the whole song kind of paints a picture of some different kind of Parisian imagery. We are La Nuit Blanche, and we are so delighted. This is our first gig back from lockdown as us as a band together. We didn't even get a chance to kind of rehearse before this, because it's kind of been 0 to 100 since the very day that lockdown finished for us, which has been, really, really lucky. So it's really quite special that we get to join you in person and you at home here tonight. Thank you so much for coming straight back to support live music in Melbourne. It literally means the world to us. So we're going to play you all of our favourite French and Francophone songs tonight. This next one is one of our big favourites. It's the Javanaise by Serge Gainsbourg, which sounds like it's a dance, especially in the lyrics, dancing the Javanaise. But the Javanaise was actually a word play, like a pig Latin that they used like the hip cats in Paris in the 60s, where you got to add an avant after every consonant. So instead of saying bonjour, you'd say bavon-javour. I can't do any more examples than that. That's one that I've had saved for years. But it's a very fun song that's it has a lot of those avant kind of sounds in it, because he was trying to refer back to this wordplay of the Javanaise. So this is a clever little song by Serge Gainsbourg, the Javanaise. J'avoue, j'en ai bavé pas vous, mon amour. Avant d'avoir, vous m'avez eu, mon amour. Ne vous déplaise en dansant la javanaise. Nous aimions le temps de nos chansons. À votre avis, qu'avons-vous de l'amour? De vous à moi, vous m'avez eu, mon amour. Ne vous déplaise en dansant la javanaise. Nous aimions le temps d'une chanson. À votre avis, qu'avons-vous de l'amour? J'avais envie de vous voir, mon amour. Ne vous déplaise en dansant la javanaise. Nous aimions le temps de nos chansons. mars, avril, en vain, j'ai vous à l'amour. J'avais envie de vous voir, mon amour. Ne vous déplaise. En dansant la javanaise, nous aimions le temps d'une chanson. Nous aimions le temps d'une chanson. Nathan Slater on the guitar, ladies and gentlemen. Enzo Roberto on the contrabass, the double bass, and Salvatore Greco, the maestro, on accordion. I feel like I'm being transported somewhere else, being able to play with these wonderfully talented musicians again after so long. So we're all travelling a little bit tonight. Why don't I chat a little bit over this next song while we can vamp it in? Let's do one of those little kind of chatting over a vamp kind of vibes, shall we? This is Jardin d'hiver. And that means winter garden, technically, but it means glass house. And it was written by Henri Salvador, who is a very famous Caribbean, so French-speaking actor and singer-songwriter. But in the English world, we know him as the voice of Sebastian the Crab in The Little Mermaid, which now, because I have a 3.5-year-old, I've watched a lot of in the last year. But I know him pretty well through this song, and it's some really cool imagery about all kinds of sort of nonsensical things that he starts to imagine. Jardin d'hiver. Je voudrais du soleil vert, comme on peut imaginer, un photo à bord de mer, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je voudrais la lumière, comme un nouvel an d'été. Je veux changer d'atmosphère dans mon jardin d'hiver. Ma robe à fleurs dans la pluie de novembre. Tes mains qui courent, je ne peux plus t'attendre. Les années passent, c'est loin quel âge temps. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Je voudrais des frais de stèle et revoir la côtière. Je voudrais toujours te plaire dans mon jardin d'hiver. voudrais du sol lever comme un nouvel été. Je veux changer d'atmosphère dans le jardin d'hiver, dans la robe fleur, dans la pluie de novembre. Dis-moi que court, je ne peux pas plus d'attendre. Les années passent, c'est loin que je tente. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Je voudrais de frais de stèle et revoir un lac côté. Je voudrais toujours te plaire dans mon jardin d'hiver, dans mon jardin d'hiver, dans mon jardin d'hiver, dans mon jardin d'hiver, mon jardin d'hiver. Je suis venue te dire que je m'en vais, et tes larmes ne pourront rien changer. Quand on dit si bien Verlaine, on m'obéit. Je suis venue te dire que je m'en vais. Tout si dans le jour ancien, tu pleures. Tout suffoque, tu démis. À présent, en cassant les lèvres. Des adieux à jamais, oui. Je suis au regret de te dire que je m'en vais. Oui, je t'aime, oui, mais je suis venue te dire que je m'en vais. Et tes larmes ne pourront rien changer. Quand on dit si ben là, on va mauvais. Je suis venue te dire que je m'en vais. Tout si bien de anciens et tu perds. Tu suffoques, tu gémis. À présent, que ça ne l'air. Des adieux à jamais, oui. Mais je suis au regret de te dire que je m'en vais. Oui, je t'aime, oui, mais je suis venue te dire que je m'en vais. Et tes larmes ne pourront rien changer. Comme dit si bien Verlaine, on va mauvais. Je suis venue te dire que je m'en vais. viens de Dieu, tu pleures, tu suffoques, tu gémis à présent que c'en est l'heure des adieux à jamais, oui. Je suis au regret de te dire que je m'en vais. Oui, je t'aime, oui, mais je suis venue te dire que je m'en vais. Je suis venue te dire que je m'en vais. Je suis venue te dire que je m'en vais. Je suis venue te dire que je m'en vais. Merci. That's another Serge Gainsbourg classic. And I love that that's a breakup song. I've come to tell you that I'm leaving you. In just a very, very French way. There's actually a bit of Serge Gainsbourg in here, which is funny. I mean, he wrote in so many different styles and across, a fair whack of time, and I suppose it makes sense. I'm going to upset my band by mucking around with the set list just a little bit now, but we know a lot of these songs so well that I hope that they don't mind. And I thought that we might do a classic next, because we've done a few kind of contemporary things, and they're just like, okay, Riley, which one? You've given us a set list. No, we're going to do La Vie en Rose next, because I feel like we've given you some contemporary things, but really, it's sort of like if you don't hear Piano Man, if you don't hear Piano Man, and I have been to a Billy Joel gig where I didn't hear Piano Man, and I was kind of annoyed. And I feel like if you were watching a French stream and you didn't hear La Vie en Rose, well, then you'd write to the Australian French consulate about it. So I wouldn't want to get any fines or, add to the bad blood at the moment between France and Australia. There we go. I knew I'd get it in there somewhere. So we'll do a classic. Feel free to sing along. Feel free to sing along at home or get up and dance with your loved one, because that's what it's about. We're back in La Vie en Rose, which is wonderful. And this one's going to start with Il Maestro, Salvatore. Les yeux qui font baiser la mienne, un rire s'y prendre sur sa bouche. Voilà la porte sans retouche de l'homme auquel j'appartiens. Quand il me prend dans ses bras, il me parle en tout bas. Je vois la vie en rose. Il me dit des mots d'amour, des mots de tous les jours, dont ça me fait quelque chose. Oh, il est entré dans mon cœur, il n'a pas de bonheur, tant je connais la cause. C'est lui pour moi, moi pour lui, dans la vie. Il me l'a dit, la journée pour la vie. Et dès que je l'aperçois, et alors je sens en moi mon cœur qui bat. des nuits d'amour, plus en venir. Un grand bonheur qui prend sa place. Les ennuis, les chagrins se fassent. Heureux, heureux, à mourir. Hold me close and hold me fast. This magic spell you cast. This is la vie en rose. Will you press me to your heart? I'm in the world apart, and I see la vie en rose. Oh, il est entré dans mon cœur. Il n'est pas de bonheur. Non, je connais la cause. C'est toi pour moi pour toi dans la vie. Il m'a dit, là j'aurai pour la vie. Et dès que je l'aperçois, alors je sens en moi mon cœur qui bat. La vie Oh, merci. Such a beautiful song, and written by two women as well, Edith Piaf and her longtime collaborator, whose name escapes me now, but someone will be able to find it and put it on the Slido and tell me. Probably it's Slido, right? Skidoo, Slido, Slido, great. But that's an excellent excellent example of girl power collaboration from a very long time ago. I'm going to do a duet next with one of my wonderful musical compatriots, Nathan Slater. This is a contemporary French song as well, written by a Parisian called Émilie Simon. She plays it beautifully on piano, and we've adapted it. Paris, j'ai pris perpète, Paris, I'm perpetually taken by you. And it's just a nice one to kind of sweep up in the moment and pretend that you're in Montmartre or really anywhere else. I mean, Melbourne's great, but we all want to get away. This is Paris, j'ai pris perpète. Paris, j'ai pris perpète. Paris, j'ai perdu la tête pour toi. Ah, ah. Paris, quelle capitale de mon prince à Pigalle, j'y crois. Ah. Tu prends tes airs de diva, ou avec moi Paris, Paris, ah, ah. Et moi, je ne respire que toi. Et j'adore ça, Paris, Paris. Paris, quelle comédienne. Paris, quelle mise en scène de joie. Ah, ah, ah. Paris, j'ai pris papel. Paris, j'ai perdu la tête pour toi. Paris, ah, ah. Et moi je ne respire que toi. Et moi j'adore ça, Paris, Paris. Paris, j'ai pris papel. Paris, j'ai perdu la tête pour toi. Ah, ah, ah. Paris, quelle comédienne. Paris, quelle mise en scène de soi. De diva, avec moi, Paris, Paris, ah, ah. Et moi je ne respire que toi. Et j'adore ça, Paris, Paris. Paris, Paris. Nathan Slater. He's an absolute talent. And as we were saying before the show, he's also a fabulous singer. You can look him up. He's got some different shows around Melbourne as well. I'm just going to embarrass you a little bit, Nathan. I love my whole band. I'm just so excited to see everybody and play with everybody again. We're going to do 2 more songs for you for this set. We're going to pick up the tempo again and do a couple of more traditional swingy French jazzy tunes. And then we are happy to have a little bit of a chat, comme tu veux, if you would like. So this is a very famous song called Sympathique. You may know it. Feel free to clap or click along or sing the words. Ma chambre a la forme d'une cage. Le soleil passe son bras par la fenêtre. Le chat sur ma porte est comme un petit soldat qui veut me prendre. Je ne veux pas travailler, je ne veux pas déjeuner, je veux seulement oublier et puis je fume. Déjà j'ai connu le parfum de l'amour, un million de roses n'est pas vrai pas autant. Maintenant nos surfleurs dans mes entourages me rend malade. Non, 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 je ne veux pas travailler, je ne veux pas déjeuner, je veux seulement oublier et puis je fume. Ouh, je ne suis pas fière de sa vie qui veut me tuer. C'est magnifique être sympathique, oui, mais je ne le connais, non, jamais, jamais. Je ne veux pas travailler, non, je ne veux pas déjeuner, je veux seulement oublier et puis je fume. Oh non, je ne suis pas fière de sa vie qui veut me tuer. Ça c'est si magnifique, être sympathique, mais je ne le connais, non, jamais. Oh, je ne veux pas travailler, non, je ne veux pas déjeuner, je veux seulement oublier et puis je fume. Non, 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 je ne veux pas travailler, oh, je ne veux pas déjeuner, je veux seulement oublier et puis je fume. Merci. This is going to be our last song for the set. And this is a very fun song by the late, great Charles Aznavour, the absolute gentleman of French song. This is Formidable, the best franglais song, I believe, out there. Let's kick it off and we'll see you after the break. We'll see you for the Q&A and then we'll see you after the break. You are the one for me, formidable. You are my love, very, 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 véritable. Et je voudrais enfin pouvoir le monde te dire, à t'écrire dans la langue de Shakespeare. Toi, désirable. Tu n'as pas compris, tant pis, ne t'en fais pas. Tomber dans mes bras, darling, I love you, darling, I want you. Et puis c'est un peu près tout. You are the one for me, formidable. You are the one for me, formidable. formidable. But how can you see me minable? Je ferais mieux d'aller choisir mon vocabulaire à te plaire dans la langue de Molière. Toi, tes yeux, ton nez, ta bouche adorable. Tu n'as pas compris, tant pis, ne t'en fais pas, et tomber dans mes bras, darling. I love you, darling, I want you. Et puis c'est un peu près tout. You are the one for me, formidable. Je me demande même pourquoi je t'aime. Toi qui me manques de toi et de tout. Avec ton air, how can I love you? Merci mille fois. Help me with a glass of water, s'il vous plaît. Oh. Sure.
The Nuit Blanche. Well, welcome to the Q&A part of Live at the Alex. This is it's Live at the Counts. I'm in the other venue. That's how much you're all throwing me, having a live audience here. I need to speak to the camera and keep on the script. No, there is no script. But I do have some questions, and so does the audience. But firstly, I wanted to say a huge thank you for a really beautiful performance. It's really great to have you here at the Counts. How did it feel back on stage, your first gig after this long lockdown?
Really nice. A bit nerve-wracking, but really nice. It felt like just slipping into something really comfortable. We're old friends, and these are some of our favourite songs. It was a bit like, oh, gosh, I have to remember the words in French again and just turn on that part of my brain. Sort of a little bit of realisation as we started the songs, but we got there. You guys remembered the chords too, so... Yeah, it all comes back.
Work.
It's like riding a bike.
Beautiful work. So you've performed at festivals such as Adelaide French Festival and Bastille Day, but you've also performed for the French Ambassador and the Consulate General. What was that experience like?
It's very nerve-wracking to sing. It's easier to sing at a festival than it is to sing for important French people because... you have to know your Marseillaise 100%, the national anthem, and the unofficial anthem like a Piaf song or Champs-Élysées. So it's a real honour. We have a really good relationship with a lot of French speakers and the Alliance and different French bodies in Melbourne, and it's been a pleasure to be able to represent them a few times and sing for things. Yeah.
We've had a question from Edith who asks, how do you retain your connection to this music during a time when you can't travel and the world seems very distant?
That's such a good question. It's been a really long time now since I've been to France in the scheme of my life. I probably went every 2 years since I was 16, worked really hard to be able to go and spent a lot of time practicing. So it has been weird not being able to travel for even longer before that. I've got a little one at home, so, travel hadn't been on the cards for a while. I immersed myself in French film and French television over this time. and French music as well. But particularly, I reckon, SBS is incredible for bringing the world to us. And so there was a lot of daydreaming and just trying to travel, armchair style. I think. Yeah.
So you've performed for companies as well, such as Lancome, Bulgari, Gucci, Paspaley Pearls. I mean, it sounds super glamorous. You've had a residency at Entrecote. You've performed for champagne houses such as Moet and for the famous chef Gian Brahimi. So I'm getting the sense here that you're all a bunch of foodies and wine lovers. So what I want to know is what a La Nuit Blanche rehearsal looks like, and can I come and who cooks?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, we've always had a great time at rehearsal. It's actually where we got the name of the band, because the band's the name La Nuit Blanche, of course, it means the white night. But just as the festival is called that in Europe, to have a white night means to have an all-nighter. And I got the phrase from my father-in-law, who speaks French and was helping me riff on some things. And we were kind of like, well, we end up kind of getting together and drinking and eating and having really late nights. So it kind of ended up being a great name. But Salvatore has cooked for us, and Enzo cooks for us, and we drink a lot of red wine, basically. And
I need to get Salvatore to pick up the mic.
Because it was winter, of course. We drink something else in the summertime. I reckon that Chelsea wants you to grab onto the microphone just in case anyone wants to chat to you, Sal.
I want to know what your
we'll eat and
signature
drink
dish
anything,
is, Sal.
basically.
Signature dish?
Sorry?
Signature dish. What's a good meal that you make?
At that time, we will do the bolognese sauce, I think.
You would make a good
Bolognese
bolognese,
sauce,
but you
yes.
make a good tuna
I just
pasta.
love to cook. Yeah, I do different dishes.
You make a good tuna pasta as well.
Yes, yes. Tuna is my specialty.
Okay, I think the after party of the after parties at Sal's place.
No more questions.
No more questions. Not divulging any secret recipes. Oh, we had a question from Ruth, who just wants to know how these four friends united over the passion for French music. How did you meet and get together?
Well, to start at, I suppose, the beginning, Salvatore and Enzo have known each other for, 25 plus years? 25 years, or 40 years. They came over from the same part of Italy together a long time ago, and obviously these guys played European music, and we kind of met collaboratively on the scene. I studied jazz, but I've always had a passion for French stuff, having studied that as well. And we'd played some other, I think, jazz together, and it was an aim to maybe chuck three French songs in a repertoire at the end of the year and see how I go and see if I could learn them. And it kind of ended up turning into a whole set list, and then 2 set lists, and then 4 set lists worth of French stuff. And when we needed a European-inspired guitar player, Nathan, is a absolute flamenco master and Spanish influence, and it was kind of cool to be able to bring that rather than just like a straight kind of Django gypsy jazz thing into the mix as well, because people do that, and they do it amazingly. So we kind of just tried to bring our own sound.
Yeah, I know we've talked about that before, that this is your Melbourne take on the Francophone repertoire, and the introduction of flamenco guitar gives it that little bit of a different spin. Nathan, do you want to tell us a little bit about that and how you approach the repertoire? And what is that kind of gypsy relationship with some of that material?
Yeah, so, well, I suppose I've studied a lot of different things. I've spent a lot of time playing with dancers in particular, so flamenco dancers and tango dancers. And I've also sort of have a love of Brazilian music and jazz. And I suppose the way that I think about playing any of those things is from a place of, I guess in the simplest way, like some people learn a style and they really try and master a particular style and learn about the tradition and learn about and play in a very pure kind of way. And I've always found...
Just approach it with musicality, no matter what the song
and I just try and combine... and so it's always the same thing, so it doesn't matter really if I'm playing tango music or French music or flamenco. I just try and it's not authentic in any of those in any of those things. So
It's authentically you.
That's
yeah,
why it's
just-
the Melbourne take, the
Yeah.
Melbourne influence, which I really love that. So I know that the ensemble, you've performed a lot at jazz clubs around town, such as Paris Cat, and you released a live album, Live at Paris Cat, which you can check out via Bandcamp. Check it out online. Is there any plans for any future recordings, studio albums?
Maybe we kind of a year ago we were really looking forward to a couple of big kind of headlining shows this year, and the aim was to have a couple of original French language tunes in there, and obviously life hit in the last 18 months. So yeah, I think in the next year we're going to kind of do a little bit of a refresh of the repertoire that we want to play, and look a little bit kind of further afield, because we've got the traditional thing down, but it is fun to keep finding kind of new French songs that you can do differently. I have a bit of a thirst for that and expanding our collection, and then yeah, maybe add a couple of original French language songs to the mix. On ne sait pas, we'll have to see.
Riley, you are one of the most versatile vocalists that I know. I've seen you perform in so many different combinations. I know you perform with, can I call them country soul outfit fools? Americana, who are performing at Blues Festival next year. You also work with Cooking on Three Burners. You have your Dusty Springfield show, the Amy Winehouse show. So many different things. You're also a mum. This might be a selfish question from me, who's also a kind of new parent. How do you continue to still pursue your music while juggling parenthood, work, all of the things?
Well,
And
I
that's a
think
question for everyone in the band here, by the way.
Absolutely.
Any parents out there?
Nathan's also a dad of a young girl as well. It can be really hard. I think that the main thing for me from quite early on was if I was going to be away from my daughter for any kind of work, it was work that I wanted to, it either has to, bring me, it has to be fulfilling in one way or another. So it either has to be financially rewarding, or it has to be meaningful to me as well. So that helped me sort of like separate the stuff that I really wanted to do and that was meaningful for me, and the things that maybe I could say no to, because the thing that I suppose you learn as well is that there's gigs enough for everyone, and it's much better to kind of like form a community of amazing singers and musicians than try and be gigging every single night of the week for things that you don't want to do because you're not sure where your place is. So there's a lot of juggling, there's a lot of trying to work out your priorities. Something always falls off, of course, because that's what life and parenting is about. But for me, it was about making the most meaningful choices and trying to leave, I suppose, my main thing over the next years will be trying to leave, like a legacy of like good musical work. That's why I worked while my daughter was little as well, because it was meaningful.
Yeah, beautifully said. So speaking of advice, something I've been asking all of the artists performing here at the Counts over the last little while is any advice that any of you might have for any emerging artists and students who are currently studying at Monash that might be looking at moving into the music industry, because it's been a really tough time. So if you've got any
I studied at
wisdom to
Monash
share.
and I'm in the music industry, so
Woo!
that's quite nice to be back. And I teach at a tertiary level as well at another fantastic institution, so I'm happy to chat about this question as well, because I feel like over the last 2 years, whether they've been in late high school or university, gosh, students have had the opportunity to dig into technology in a way that we never either knew was possible, had the time for, had the skills for, had the internet for. And if you were unencumbered with either no job or no kids to look after, all that kind of stuff, this has been an amazing time to get creative, or at least kind of learn and get your hand across like so much technology. So there are gigs again, that's already been proven. There's support from government and also other art bodies. We've seen that start to happen again. So I feel like it's actually a really good time to be throwing yourself into the music industry. You still, I feel, need to be versatile, at least maybe for your formative years, because that's how you learn what you're good at, and that's how you diversify enough to be able to make a living out of it. But I feel like it's it is coming to be a positive time to enter the industry, whether it's as a performer or it's as a producer or as an arts presenter or something as well. It's an exciting time. It's a renaissance, I think.
I love that. It's a renaissance. Did you all catch
Renaissance,
that?
it's a French word after all.
And we are in the roaring 20s yet again, right?
Yeah.
So if you think back on history, if history's repeating, this whole next decade, once this COVID thing's done, it's going to be all sequins, diamantes, and a whole lot of champagne.
I'm there for that.
And those fabulous cocktails, 1920s cocktails, that's what I'm predicting, and great jazz. I've got one more question, and then we'll be wrapping up our live stream. But for those in the crowd, the party is just getting started after this. So we're going to have a break, grab a wine, and hear some more music just for you from La Nuit Blanche. But our last question, I was just wondering, for those who might not be so across French culture, this might have been the first time that they've heard music like this before. Do each of you have any recommendation on a book, a film, or an artist, francophone, that you think is essential?
Do you want to go first? No more questions.
Yeah, we
You
got
don't
that
wanna
memo,
talk.
didn't we?
Nathan,
In terms of French music,
Yeah.
I would say, well, as a guitarist, I'd say Borelli Legrin, obviously Django Reinhardt, and to get a little bit of like the gypsy jazz kind of feel. There's a director called Tony Gatliff, who's done an amazing series of movies, but they're almost documentaries on gypsy kind of life. And the one on French gypsy music is called Swing, and that's an amazing movie. And I think that would give you a good sense of the history of where it sort of comes from.
Brilliant.
I'm going to watch that too. Gosh. Look, there's so many. I think that in terms of French art, films and music, films and TV, they have such a way of looking at the world, and particularly quirks. Amelie was a really good example of that. But, in terms of television, Call My Agent was an amazing hit.
It was like my favourite lockdown
So
binge
good. And
Netflix.
there's so many good French movies in the last few years. C'est la vie, which is an excellent kind of romp at a wedding that just goes completely wrong. It's got a really good soundtrack. You go back and watch like a Truffaut movie, or something that is on my list actually to watch is The Talented Mr. Ripley was actually a French film from the 60s first. I can't remember the name of it, but imagine that movie was originally done in the 60s and in French. Like, it's just absolutely perfect. But I tuck Spotify on and I just kind of listen to anything French, from Catastrophe, which is like a disco kind of French group, to even Daft Punk, and then Camille, and I'm talking obviously francophone because they're Belgian, and then you go and school yourself on Charles Aznavour and the holy trinity of chansonnier, which was Brassens and Serge Gainsbourg, and the other one
I should have written this down.
Jacques
I just
Brel
distribute
as
the
well.
list.
Yeah, well, I guess it'll be on the stream, but the holy trinity of the chanson writers is always a good place to start with French song as well.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. And thanks again for an incredible first set. And that concludes our Live at the Counts stream. But don't forget, you can join us here at the club every Wednesday. So make sure you check out Monash University Performing Arts Centre's The Counts. You can book now to see Mama Alto next Wednesday night. The week after, Cooking on 3 Burners are bringing the soul party to the club. So we can't wait to see you at the club really soon. So that concludes tonight, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank
Please
you for
grab a
joining
drink.
our Live at the Counts concert series.
And the band will be back really soon after a short
Monash
break.
University Performing Arts Centre's technical crew. Live performances follow at Monash PAC.